Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects and Go Cloud Careers, and we're here for another episode of Head in the Clouds with my good friend Alonzo Coleman and my Chief Operating Officer, Christopher Johnson. In the Head in the Clouds podcast, we typically talk about tech career secrets and tech career paths, and we talk about tech career coaching, tech career advancement, or how to get promoted in tech. We talk about cloud career coaching, cloud architect career paths. We talk about cloud architects versus cloud engineers. We talk about a lot of cloud architect career coaching, cloud engineer career coaching, and emotional intelligence in tech and developing emotional intelligence, because realistically, it's about building your influence leadership, your technical leadership skills, so you can build the best career. And these are normally the things we talk about, things that are designed to build and accelerate your technology career. But not tonight. Tonight, and we'll still talk about building your career. We'll have to do that. But we've got a fun show. We're going to talk about some of the books that either we have loved, we have read, or have changed my life. And I got to tell you, Alonzo's got his list of books that it's for him. I've got my list of books, which is probably a little crazier than anybody else's list of books, because I used to read 3 books a week for about 20 years straight. But, and then Chris will have his list of books. And we're all different, but we all have similar goals. And, you'll see that some of us read different books, and that's okay. That's what we're doing this. We're so similar, but we all have our own differentiators. And that's what makes the world so interesting. So we're going to talk about books that have changed our lives. And then... realistically speaking, there's just going to be so many exciting things that we're going to be talking about. We'll talk about coming up in the next month. We're going to have one show where it's going to be a real military roundtable. Next week, we're going to have Nathan. Nathan is a Linux guru from Red Hat, and he's created our cloud engineering course because, Linux is so important to cloud engineers. And guess what? I didn't want to teach it. I wanted the best. So I got somebody from Red Hat, someone that's senior there to teach it. So he'll be on talking about Linux and cloud computing, and it's going to be really exciting next week. We're going to talk about a few other things. We're going to have a health discussion at some point coming up fairly soon, talking about how to stay healthy in tech. And then I know Chris wants to talk about a few things. So Chris, let me have you introduce a few concepts, let Alonzo say hello, and then we'll get into the content and the things that I want everybody should know about. And then let's start having party time.
All right, that sounds good. So you kind of threw me off there. Apparently, I'm supposed to be thinking about books that changed my life. That is a pretty tall order, so I'm going to have to rethink my list. But let's get to the most important question that has come in today. What is Chris drinking? It is a Diet Coke.
So Chris is drinking a Diet Coke. I am personally drinking distilled water, which normally is more for irons than it is for human people. But I spent 3 hours in the sauna today, really detoxifying, so I'm drinking distilled water for the next 48 hours.
Yep.
How about you, Alonzo? You got distilled water? You got something good over there, like scotch?
I got a little bit of everything. Yeah, I got all you need. So, but you know what? We're going to keep it rated G here today, and we're going to focus on this. I got a little bit. I know this is not popular, but this LaCroix stuff is pretty doggone good.
You know what? Around Florida, everybody drinks it.
Yeah, this is some good stuff. It's like I tried it, and I'm like, I don't know, but it grows on you. So this is Ras Cranberry LaCroix, and once I finish taking that out, just a little bit of water to stay hydrated.
Ras Cranberry. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I should have kept that to myself.
All right. Well, I want to follow up. Mike talked about a couple of things that we've got coming up. So like he said, on Friday, we do have our military roundtable discussion that will be premiering Friday afternoon at 2:30 here on the YouTube channel. And we've got veterans from both Marines and Army that will be joining us. And they'll be joining us in the chat box as well, so that you can put any questions that you might have for them. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. It was fun to watch. I really enjoyed doing that, and I know we look forward to doing more of those coming in the near future. And also next Tuesday, as he mentioned, we have Nathan, who helped develop the engineering program that we're launching, and we'll be instructing some of our live classes for the engineering program. He's former associate at Red Hat. I don't remember his exact title, but He will be joining us next Tuesday, so that will be a fun show. Make sure you come ready for all of your engineering excitement. Later on this month, we're going to be trying to bring in some other professionals out there. We've got a database expert that we're going to be trying to bring in. And some of you may be familiar with him. Some of you may not. I'll just leave it at that. Then we also have, we've got I'm not quite sure how to describe it. Just tell me if I'm wrong, Mike. It's a developer of a cryptocurrency that supports the healthcare industry in India.
Yes.
Okay, I got that right. So
As a cloud architect that also has really good blockchain and coding skills. So his innovative crypto is really going to be out there for India, trying to improve things, and I'm loving it. It's very exciting stuff.
all right. Well, that's going to be an exciting month in store.
And actually, since you brought up cloud engineering, can I tell everybody how excited I am for this cloud engineering program? Chris could see it as I was collaborating with people because, most of the time I'm Mr. Architect, Mr. Executive. But when we were putting this Linux together, I was like a kid in a candy store. Let me tell you about this cloud engineer program. We've been getting everybody hired as cloud architects. Today, another one of my students over in India got hired, and I received a text message from a person in Nigeria that they got their first cloud architect job. So, all in one day, this is pretty exciting. And two of my students told me they're on their now 5th interview in the last week with big cloud providers. So all this stuff is super exciting. But now we've got a cloud engineering program, and this is designed specific for cloud engineers. We do specificity of training the way you train a pro athlete. So everything we do makes our people exactly ready to be hired. So in this program, it's hundreds of hours. We've got, how do you design systems, but we have how to build them. So we've got over 100 labs in this program, and they're huge. In this program, we've got a Linux module that basically is turning everybody into a Linux engineer. We're teaching Terraform, we're teaching Python, we're teaching how to interview, how to negotiate a higher salary. We're teaching it all, including your resume. And just like the cloud architects that get hired every day, the cloud engineers will be. And to kick this off, because I'm super excited about it, we're going to run a 50% discount at least until May 1st. So May 1st is 5 days, but please take advantage of this because we are super, super, super excited about this engineering program. In fact, on Thursday, we're going to have a completely free how to get your first cloud engineer webinar. So that, I previously told so many people how to get hired as cloud architects, and they're getting hired, and now we're going to do it for cloud engineers. Super exciting. I love engineers because we architects design it. The engineers build it. If you have no engineers, we architects are nothing. We design pretty PowerPoints and Word documents. Cloud engineers make it come to life. So it's like a marriage made in heaven. So we're super excited about it. Alonzo, let me turn it over to you.
Well, I just want to say it's so good to be here. I am so glad to share in some news that will be coming very soon. It's just been a phenomenal opportunity just to be here and hang out with my friend and good brother Mike and Chris as well. So if anyone has not had a chance to check out some of our previous episodes, look on YouTube, check out what we've already talked about, all the great things that we've socialized about and shared, and all the great guests and everything else. And just come on and just, learn about the cloud. Come on in and learn all you can, share in this community, and just grow with us as we talk about all sorts of wonderful things. So today I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to just socialize and talk about all these wonderful things that we have in store. And I'm ready to rock and roll. Back to you, Chris.
All right. Well, before we get started off, let me just roll through some of these comments that have been coming in. And actually, while I'm rolling through some of these comments, never mind. I can't.
Thank you, Dylan. Dylan is the most inspirational 16-year-old you can imagine. He's learning cloud at 16. We love this guy. 25-year-old CEO. That's Dylan.
Yes.
So happy you're here. Robert, always good seeing you cloud hired.
Robert is from Arizona, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Robert.
Yeah,
Robert.
I remember Robert. I remember you.
Timmy,
we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, welcome, Timmy.
And Ruth, wow, Ruth cloud hired. Ruth, I bet you within 6 weeks, you're a cloud architect somewhere. You're fantastic. Abigail, yes, cloud hired. Cat hired, you got this. Abigail, I love your attitude, energy, enthusiasm. Thank you for your service to this country and all the things that you've done.
And Abigail will be part of that military roundtable that we're premiering on Friday afternoon. So
That's going to be awesome.
make sure you tune in for that.
Omar, good seeing you. Rosella Cloud hired.
Oh, the Cloud Crew. I like that.
We love that. Absolutely.
Who keeps looking at the piano?
A lot of people seem to be.
Yeah.
Sam Hudson, Cloud hired and Cat hired. And Dustin, that looks like a nice plate of vegetables. Looks like something that I would eat. Along with distilled water. Yeah, that's me. I eat pure paleo, so.
Oh. So Ruth says a lot of people on LinkedIn have asked her about the cloud engineering program, and she's told them it's worth the investment.
Well, thank you much. Ruth is an amazing cloud architect. She's a cloud architect student in our program. She blows us away constantly. So I take that as a very good compliment, and I'm grateful. Oh, this makes sense. So excited and ready for a career change. Leaving the pastry chef world and joining the tech world. Good for you.
Sweet.
I did it. I went from healthcare to tech and loved it, and you could do it too. I do love to cook. I used to cook. I was practically a chef because it was so much of a hobby, but now I don't have time to cook and I have meal delivery because I'm too busy. And yeah, drop a cat emoji. Abigail's got the second most beautiful cat in the world. Or
second most.
Cindy's, of course, the most beautiful, and I'm only slightly biased to think my cat's the cutest.
You're just saying that because Sunny's not nice to other cats.
Sunny's just as cute too, but
Sunny doesn't play well with others, huh?
No, she does not. She doesn't play well with herself.
Eugene, we're excited to work with you last Friday, but you see, here's the thing: Abigail's cat looks just like mine.
I agree with Angelo here. Please bring the pastries with you, Dustin.
Yeah, why not?
See, even Abigail's with me. Don't forget Sunny. Just
because she's not
testing well to her new environment doesn't mean that she's not a fun cat. Huh.
No, so Sunny's a great cat and beautiful Maine Coon.
Sunny's just discerning in her company.
She's old. But all right. Well, before we get to the main topic, there's one thing that I wanted to get everyone's input. And I actually want to start with Alonzo on this one because I know exactly where Mike stands. Because I know me and Mike addressed this one head on a couple of times over the past couple of weeks. So I don't know if you've ever seen it, Alonzo, but somebody will say, I have done this before. What can I do? Or, here's what I've done for the past 20 years. What should I do? What are your thoughts about what I can do? Or what I should do?
Or what you can do tomorrow?
What can I do tomorrow? What are your thoughts? What should I do? What can I do? What can he do? What can she do? What should they do?
What should they do? What do you want to do? What is your passion? You know, I can't tell you what you want for breakfast any more than I can tell you what vacation you should go on, but I can recommend some great things for you. What I can do is that you can look back on your experience, whether you started 5 years, 15 or 20 years in your current and soon to be former career, seize those opportunities, seize those experiences, all the knowledge, know-how, and application on how you've created solutions in whatever environment, hone those actions, hone those thoughts, filter it out, and present those as ammunition for your new career. So it doesn't matter because for me, I started off in marketing. I started off as a creative director, graphic designer, all those wonderful things. I've drawn, I've done the whole full suite of Adobe Creative Suite. I know my way around that creative kitchen, if you will. But after a while, I got burned out from my career. I didn't want to do it anymore. Decided, what can I do? Where do I go? How can I get this done? Who do I talk to about making this happen? And what are the prerequisites to get to go A to B? And throughout all this stuff, I started writing down the pros and cons of what I want to do, why I want to do them, create a list of my offerings that I can present to any prospective client or organization, and being able to apply how I would use that in the tech career once I finally decided to do it. So it's all about what you want to do. You have to, as you say, plan your work and work your plan. Plan your work. Find out what you want to do. Find out how you want to get it done. Create those relationships, partnerships, drum up those resources, create a list of how you're going to get it done, and execute. Don't let anyone get in your way. Don't say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it after I'm done here. I'll do it after I go out. I'll do it. That will never come. And as Mike profusely talks to you about this, you're losing out on hundreds of dollars in opportunity costs every day that you delay. So you ask yourself, get in the mirror, do whatever you have to do to pull out these resources that you have in you that you've created and accrued for yourself. Pull those out, write down that list, and look at yourself as valuable, even though you may not have started in the tech industry, and start planning, executing, and moving forward day by day, as opposed to Go Cloud Career. Like actually with Go Cloud Careers, you're going to be surrounded by an awesome community. You're going to be surrounded by great people who've gone before you or even starting with you in lockstep on how you can be the best tech person you can ever be, whether it's an engineer or an architect or whatever. But right here, you're going to be nurtured. You're going to have that environment where you're going to be pushed. You're not going to be able to sit on your laurels. You're not going to be praised for doing just the standard. We are here to work. We will work you. We will definitely help you to flourish and improve yourself to become who you want to be.
Yes, and Angelo asked a question, and here's the key, Angelo. There is no reason for anybody to start at the bottom.
No.
Ever. My first job, I'll tell you right now, was in 1996. I got paid $85,000 a year, and that was my base. And 6 months later, I went to a company called Knight Securities, and they paid me $170,000, and that was in 1996.
Yeah.
You know, my last job before that was, Angelo? I was practicing internal medicine. So the key is you should never start from the bottom. The only way you'd ever start from the bottom, Angelo, is if your study plan was certifications. If all you did was certifications and all you knew was how to configure anything, you're going to have to start at the bottom and work there for years and work your way up and learn, because there's nothing covered in certification that's reality. But if you treat it like a doctor would treat their school, or a pilot would treat their school, or a military officer would treat their school, and you go and you get professional development and you learn and be curious and you learn about it and you develop a professional body of knowledge, add the soft skills, communication skills, executive presence, you shouldn't have to get a job that's less than $100,000 a year, ever, in tech. And, you know, for those of people that were making much more than that, chances are they've got the business acumen, communication skills to get their first job at 150. Now, going much above that is going to be challenging on the first job. That 150 to 300, 400, etc. That takes a couple of years, and that takes a lot of leadership, business acumen. But nobody should start at the bottom. That's only for people who are training ideas like, here, let me buy a $10 Udemy course and learn the name of a service and how to configure it, but not know how anything works. You don't need to start at the bottom. So there's that. But here's the thing. When I started, I was in medicine. You don't even tell people. They're going to tell you you're crazy. I told 5 doctors, I'm going to work in networking. And they said, yeah, Mike. They're like, you're going to go to college for networking? And I said, I don't need to go to college. I'm going to learn networking. I bought some routers, some switches, read some books. I learned networking. 6 months later, I was a CCIE. It was no big deal. Your past doesn't define your future. What you ate for breakfast doesn't determine if you'll be obese for the rest of your life. You can eat differently.
So what you guys are telling me is I can do whatever I want to do.
Yes.
You are the car. Will you decide to brake or would you decide to accelerate? It's up to you.
I like that.
Every day is a brand new day. We can do whatever we want, plan our future. All we have to do is know what we want, build a plan, execute on that plan, and don't quit till you get to the destination and you're there.
So what trying to figure out how to ask this. So this is obviously, some people obviously have some difficulty with this concept.
Yes, a lot of people.
I was trying to be nice there by saying some. What kind of advice would you give to overcome this obstacle? Because it's a mental obstacle.
It's a mental obstacle.
So what type of advice? Because I haven't had to overcome the obstacle. Well, I mean, I did, but I had to sit there. employment situation during the pandemic that forced me to overcome the obstacle.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice, so I was able to overcome it. I was forced to. But for those that aren't forced to overcome this obstacle, what type of advice would you give for those that have trouble with getting over that hurdle of what should I do?
I would say your first is that your past does not define your future. No, we should go back at our past and look at it. For example, we just had a pastry chef. Here's something about baking versus cooking. In cooking, it's a bit of an art. In baking, it's a science. You must be precision. If you get things wrong with regards to the ingredients, it doesn't work. So I've got a baker, and I know I have attention to detail. It means meticulousness. It means the person knows how to mitigate timing. How long does something go in the oven? Can they get it out on time? Can that person multitask? Now, if that pastry chef is truly a chef and they've got 4 or 5 sous chefs or other people that are helping out in the cooking process, now there's a leadership element, which means there's a communication element. And those are the things that I would be talking about to the new hiring manager. So take those lessons and say, yes, I've learned. These are good because they carry out to the world. Now the rest of it, it's like, okay, I want to learn tech. Well, instead of learning Spanish, I want to learn tech. I'm going to get some books. I'm going to get some proper education. I'm going to do some proper practice drills. And guess what? Life is going to be perfect and it's going to be great. But it's like anything else. You got to wake up. And I used to scuba dive. They'd say, plan your dive and dive your plan. And, it's basically the same thing. Plan what you're going to do before you do it, which actually gets into one of my favorite books, The Art of War. And there was a passage in there and it says, win first and then go to battle. And what they were saying is, build your battle plan. Play out your battle plan in your mind. Make sure you got everything right and then go to war. Don't just fight because you're going to lose. Build a plan, execute on the plan, and conquer your dreams.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. That's what I did. We had at least 100 people in the last year for the most part, plus or minus, get first-time cloud architect jobs. So, to me, that's great. Today, one of our students in India just got one. And people aren't coming from these careers. They're learning these careers. You can learn anything you want. You want to be a doctor? Great. Want to be an accountant? Great. Want to be a lawyer? Great. Want to be a cloud architect? Nobody's born one of these positions. They learn it. And they didn't get it from experience. They got it from education. Experience in somebody else's job doesn't make you good at yours. It might even make you worse at your job. Training for your job makes you good at your job.
Speaking of training, I forgot to mention this at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. So, everybody, we're going to do a completely free boot camp, another one in June. It'll be a Azure Solutions Architect Expert or a Google Professional Cloud Architect one in June. And you know what? If we don't do one in June, we might do another one real soon, too. So, vote for your choice. The link is in the description below. We're going to give you a completely free boot camp.
And we might have a new book coming eventually.
We may have another book that will be, we may potentially have a free book that could help build your careers that we might be giving out soon, completely free. So subscribe, hit the bell, follow us on LinkedIn, join our mailing list, and you'll be informed of it.
So so make sure to vote. Have a say in what you learn.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to doing more and 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 more. But let's move on to the topic of discussion tonight. And there's so many. I don't even know where to begin. I love reading. I love reading. I will read the liner notes of a CD or a record. I'm intrigued by what's in the information. So I'm excited to talk about our favorite books, our favorite authors, or our favorite. Like as I explained to Mike and Alonzo when we were talking about this, it doesn't have to be an author. One of my favorite writers is Jim Morrison from The Doors, and most people don't think of him as an author, but he's a writer for sure. He's a writer. I did an essay in college for my English class on his poetry, and my teacher was like, "What? Jim Morrison?" I'm like, "Yeah, Jim Morrison." It's like, so I turned in my essay with a CD. It's like, here you go.
Creative points for creativity.
I
man.
gotta love that. I can just picture Rider to the Storm or Baby We Can't Get Much Higher turning into an English course.
Well, I mean, it was
It
the same semester that we did Summer Night Stream, so it's just right there in the same realm of.
Yeah, seriously.
So anyway, I don't want to give away too much, but he's one of my favorite. But who wants to take the lead here? And so I'll let one of y'all. I'll let y'all decide who's going to take the lead, and then I'll ask you the question.
I unfortunately have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books that I picked out that changed my life. So I tried to narrow it down, but for me, until recently, I used to read 3 books a week every week for 20 years. So it's 1,000 books a year for 20 years. I've gone through about 20,000 books. Now, having said that, recently, I'm scheduled from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. at night, 7 days a week. I haven't read anything other than an instruction manual, which I can barely even understand anymore because I'm overwhelmed.
So is that you volunteering, Mike?
If Alonzo doesn't volunteer, I'll volunteer. I'm good to go.
All right. Well, since he's prepared with books, then I'm going to throw him a curveball.
Okay.
Who is your favorite author?
Author?
Or writer?
What do you mean by... Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying I have never read a novel in my entire life or a fiction book, but I've read about 20,000 technical publications, medical publications, physical therapy publications, and strength and conditioning publications. But as far as authors, I don't have any for fiction. And if I did...
That'd have to be fiction. Your favorite
writer,
okay. Favorite person to read from?
Actually, it's probably Malcolm Gladwell. I think just reading his content is really interesting to me. And I like the way he talked about thin slicing and blink, and I like the way he positions things. He positions things in a very objective sort of way. So I'd say if I have to read anybody's, all in all, it'd probably be Malcolm Gladwell. I really like him.
So what does Malcolm write about, and what is it that you like about his writing? It's
simple. It's effective. It's not somebody that needs to tell 1,000 stories. It's not wordy. It's straight and to the point, but it's really, really functional. Like he wrote a book on thinking with your subconscious called Blink. And he talked about how the subconscious sees things, but he addressed it and said, look, we all have hidden biases. So when you've got a hidden bias, how do you use your hidden bias with your gut instincts? For example, maybe somebody likes this brand's product. And if they're going to see the product, they're always going to like it because it's got the Apple stamp on it, but maybe Apple isn't right. So he was trying to say to look for your positive and negative biases and how to integrate that with your logic. And it was just fantastic.
Interesting.
I didn't list that on my list of books, but it was still very
I know. Like I said, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. Adapt and improvise, Mike.
Yeah, I'm fine with adapt, improvise, and overcome. I've got a little bit of training in that realm.
So now that I've thrown you the curveball, let's get to the heart of it. What would you say one of your favorite books is?
I'm gonna go through them chronologically.
Oh, okay.
He broke it down chronologically.
Oh, here we go.
Well, the first book that I read was about 25 years ago, and it was Emotional Intelligence from Daniel Goleman. This, for me, changed my life because I had just finished my CCIE. I'd been a real techie, but I had some emotional intelligence from medical training, empathy training for my medical practice. When I read this book and it talked about your emotional intelligence quotient, how it mattered so much more than your IQ in terms of your long-term career success and salary, I went, wow, could this be true? So I dedicated a lot of time and effort into trying to go through the exercises in that initial book and thinking about it. And whoa, it took me out of that first job that was paying me $85,000 and into basically $165,000, $170,000 job with 6 months experience 25 years ago. And it all came from the lessons in that book. So emotional intelligence, which is much more important than your actual IQ. And in most cases, it's much more important than your technical competency with regards to your career. That one hit me first.
So time out. So are we going chronologically in order of publication or chronological to you and your relationship with it?
When I read it.
Okay. All right. I was just curious because I
Yeah.
realized I realized that I thought that that's where we were going, so I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure. Okay, I like that. I like that approach.
And the next one, believe it or not, was The Definitive Guide to Body Language by Barbara and Alan Piazzi.
Hey, you got these written down for me?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're gonna post them later. I just want to
Okay.
make sure.
And I have the authors written down too.
Okay,
And
good.
what I really loved about the Barbara and Alan Piazzi book was as follows. I was an architect, and as an architect, 50% of what I do, or 60%, is customer facing. And after reading that book, when I spoke to someone, they leaned in versus came back versus gave a crooked smile versus a jaw drop smile versus this smirk. It was like I had a dictionary into what was going on with the people. So when we deal with communication, 55% is what we look like when we say something, 38% is what we act is what we sound like, and 7% is actual content. So from this book, I learned how to take in and read people. So when I go into a boardroom, I could read the room. Go on an interview, it was like I instantly knew what the hiring manager wanted to hear, and as I would talk and they would smile, I'd know how to tune it. So if I wanted to, I mean, it was just incredible. So also, it kind of helped me not make stupid mistakes with my wife more frequently, because I could say when she'd say, "Yes, that's fine," and I knew it wouldn't be. Now, granted, I probably didn't need the Barbara and Alan Piazzi book for it, but it did improve my relationships with people by getting me better at reading body language. I'd say that's the second one that truly impacted my life.
All right. Are we stopping at 2?
Now I got a couple more, and these were some of these were career changing. The next one was Presenting to Win by Jerry Weissman. Now I've taken about $30,000 of presentation skills training over the year, and Jerry Weissman used to work with a lot of us at Cisco. And the way Jerry Weissman talked about putting your slides together, what needs to go there, the logical flow of tell them what you're going to tell them, remind them what you told them. I mean, his logic was brilliant. So, the executives at Cisco all use this. So the Jerry Weissman Presenting to Win, again, that's the kind of thing that can add $50,000 to your salary by making you a good presenter.
Yeah.
And it was transformational for my life. I watched that. I read that book and I got a promotion right after it, which was a pretty heavy promotion. The next book after that, which my students know about,
your students know about all these, by the way.
Yeah, they do. But this next one, my executive coach Frances sent it to me. Frances has been a person that's changed my life. She's mentored me, coached me for 2 decades, and I can't say anything but the best things about her. I gave a speech. I had just finished my MBA program, and I talked about operational expenditures and capital expenditures and EBITDA, and I sounded like a real expert. I just graduated an MBA program, and all the executives in the office, they were all CEOs and CTOs and CFOs were like this. And I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know what it was. So I had said to Frances, Frances, this is like 25 years ago, 20 years ago, before I became a big architect. I said, I don't think that went well. My gut's not liking it. What did you think? And she smiled and said, can I send you a book? And the book was called Why Business People Speak Like Idiots. And it taught me how to say things simply. And then I'm going to get to this next movie/book. I recommend the movie. I think it was better than the book, but I recommend this book for everybody in the entire world. It's called Peaceful Warrior. And I got to tell you, it was written by Dan Milliman. He was a martial artist, he was a yogi, and he was a gymnast. Part of the reason I resonate with him, but it was more than that. It's a story about learning how to use your mind, learning how to use your body, learning how to be fully present in the moment, learning to observe all the amazing things that are there going on around you, and learning how to do 10 times more than you ever thought was possible. I strongly encourage this book to everyone, and the movie. I wrote it in terms of a hot college gymnast and a guy named Socrates. It was at a gas station. It was a bit of an odd setting, but there were so many valuable lessons. So I've got to say they were my favorite ones. And I guess The Art of War. Everybody has to read that.
I was going to say, how has he not said The Art of War yet?
That's the last one that I've read at least 50 times. The Art of War. Military strategy, business strategy. It used to be mandatory reading in MBA programs. And then MBA programs got kind of soft. and less business oriented, less warfare oriented. And then they're like, okay, here's the new modern stuff. But that one, loved it. That's my list of my favorites.
All right. I like it. I'm not going to get into mine just yet because something just happened that I'm going to bring up. But I'm going to go ahead and make an observation, and once everyone hears my list, everyone will understand my observation. Mike is a creative type. He's the creative. He's the Steve Jobs. He's the Bill Gates. He creates he's got all our ideas and all our all our brainstorming in his head. But every single book that he just listed was not creative. It was all business, all operational. So, well, I just want to point that out now, and I'm going to point out the alternative to that when I talk. But before I talk, we've got a surprise that just happened.
We have a surprise. I love surprises.
Yeah,
Praveen! Oh my God! Welcome, Praveen. So Praveen is an expert cloud architect. He was one of my students. He works at JP Chase. He's a world-class big data architect as well. Praveen is also a good friend, and just having Praveen here. Praveen, welcome here. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Praveen.
Hi, Alonzo. Thank you, Mike. Hi, Chris. Can you hear me, you guys?
Yes,
Fantastic. We can hear you, and we're thrilled having you here. You have no idea how excited I am to see you.
Oh, yeah. Very excited.
Just I was watching you guys on YouTube. It was
I hope
nice.
you came prepared with your favorite books.
Can I ask you the comedy question? How much do you code each day as an architect?
I don't do any code.
Wait, what?
Wait, you don't code?
Say it again.
I have to listen actively and then understand the business problem, ask for clarification, understand the jargons, business terms.
Okay, can you say that again? How much coding do you do?
I don't do any code.
Okay. All right.
No code.
So the reason we're saying this is I saw a certification provider today make a video, and they said, hey, if you want any cloud job, you got to code. So, and then they talked about spending time on the management console. Since you're an architect, how much time do you spend on the management console or the CLI? None, because you're a designer, not a builder.
I don't do that.
And, that's
So
really
even-
the thing. So I
Yeah.
love it. And the reason I do this is, I've been an architect for 25 years. I wouldn't even know what a programming language is because that's what I do. And, and I speak to all the architects everywhere. They're like, this is what I do. And yet somehow we have certification providers saying, here, study DevOps, be an architecture, SysOps. And if you're done that, learn Python. And guess what? You'll get hired. And I'm like, no, you won't. Not for an architect job. They're not architect skills. Now, maybe a cloud admin job, sure. Maybe a DevOps job, sure. But not this. So train for the job you want. So thanks for being asked on the fly some silly question like that. I know you don't code. I know you probably know how to from other careers you have. But in our job as architects, we all design. We don't touch the tech.
And I think we are very highly paid professional. We should not waste the time, precious time in coding, right?
Exactly.
You got other people to do that.
You got much cheaper resources to do that. Software developers cost half of architects or a third of architects. Pay a software developer. They're cheaper and they're better at it because it's their job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's like asking the chef to make to pour the water at the bar.
Yeah, it's a different skill. Or asking the pilot to just be the flight attendant for the trip.
Yeah.
Nobody's in the cockpit. Who's flying the plane?
And as a solution architect or a cloud architect, I will be working on multiple use cases, like multiple projects.
Yeah.
So coding means you will have to take one piece, something like that. But here you can't do that.
Because the second you do that, you lost the big picture, and all of a sudden something fell apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of stuff will break.
All right. I gotta wrangle us back up. All right. So we've got Praveen here as a surprise. We might have gotten our signals crossed. We I was thinking Praveen was going to be joining us in a couple of weeks. So Praveen, are you going to be available in a couple of weeks?
For what?
That's not important. No, anyway. So we're talking about some of our favorite books. I know you may not have been prepared for the conversation, but if you happen to be ready, do you want to share any of your favorite books with us, or we can come back to you because Alonzo and I haven't talked about ours yet.
No, I have favorite book, and that is again, it's not kind of emotional intelligence or business acumen.
Oh, mine aren't either.
When
Mine are nowhere near related to it.
when I started with Mike, I think third day or fourth day, I came to know about the system design, and it's very important to ask the question, understand the all 360 degree, not only technical.
Right.
Because very fifth day, Mike explained me, Praveen, you already have technical thing, whatever world required. Focus on business acumen and executive presence. Uh, but system design, I came across one book, and that is for solution architect. Though it is solution architect, it talks about how to ask questions and how to design the system. That is a kind of technical book. Non-technical book, uh, rather than book, I prefer to go through some courses from LinkedIn, learning business or executive presence, how to keep cool yourself, those kind of things. But technical book, yeah, I can guide you. I can tell you what book I used to follow. So I will have to find the exact name. It's very generic name, and some Srivastav is writer.
All right.
Yeah, great. I didn't
So-
even list any technical books in that group, so you're doing much better than me. All mine were body language, communication, the art of war. So Praveen's obviously in a much better, more state than I am.
Yeah, and I used to get very blunt feedback from Mike. Praveen, this is not going to work for solution architect or cloud architect. You will have to show your energy. You will have to show passion. You are talking, that is fine. Content is good, but you will have to show your energy. And I was, what he's talking about. I was recording my video and audio at 2 o'clock night when everybody is sleeping at home.
And I was like, okay, here's what we need to do. We need to slow it down. You're an executive. Make a point, pause, make your next point, vary your vocal tone. And everybody, when I start saying this, is like, crazy. And then they watch the video of somebody doing it and they're like, oh my God. And, it's funny. Oh, wow, I've got this videotape. It's 20 some years old. I got to try and translate it to.
Before you do that, we gotta address. It's a terrible thing that comes up all the time. Job descriptions have all these requirements in them. And, like here we go. We did.
The job description
every live
is so
stream we
silly.
do, every live stream we do, every webinar we do, every video we make, everything. Somebody comes in and says this.
Yeah.
And that's why we always, every architect that we know that actually has a job, we actually bring in to do this, because I've been an architect for 25 years.
I need to change my interview template, because I didn't ask Praveen this on his interview. I need to add the question, do you code, in the interview? Because I didn't ask you that question, did I, Praveen, when we did your video? I haven't asked anybody that. And I'm like, I've got all these videos and I've never asked. I should have asked.
Yeah, but I can tell you that I've spoken to most of our graduates because they text me, hey, Mike, oh my God, there's no tech in this job. Mike, all I do is buy lunches. Mike, I actually got paid $200,000 to tell jokes. Mike, are you serious that all we're going to do is buy dinners, drinks, and give her presentations? Because that's all I've done for the first 8 weeks of my job. And oh, by the way, a new car showed up in my driveway. And I'm saying, yes, we design things. We manage relationships. We sell things. We present things.
So there's
the key is for these job descriptions, you have to understand this. HR gets 5,000 applications for every single position. And if I'm interviewing with Praveen and Praveen asks me about a load balancer and I can talk about it, Praveen can say, Mike knows it or Mike doesn't know it. But HR can't do that. They have no idea. They're not technology professionals. So if you are not a technology professional and you had to go hire a technology professional, what would you do? I need 50 years experience. And you'd think, What are the come-in jobs? Well, there's programmers. Yeah, I need a programmer. I need a database administrator too. Yeah, I need one of them. I need a Linux guru. Oh, because he needs to teach Linux to everybody. But what I really need is a routing and switching girl. Oh, wait, no, I don't need that. I need a security guy. And by the time you're done, the job description is 50 pages long. It got so bad.
Yeah, I just posted the link to to our CIO video.
Okay, good. So we posted a link to the video, but here's the thing. When hiring managers were asked by Gartner, and it's published in CIO magazine, here's what they said they want the architect to do. Lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process, finding talent with the necessary skills, assessing application software and hardware, creating a cloud broker team, selecting cloud providers and vetting third-party services, overseeing governance and mitigating risk, operating at scale and managing budgets and operating costs. Oh, one more. Working closely with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures. So all business stuff. So this is what we do. You can see it in CIO magazine. And that's the difference. That's why you've got to train for the job. And that's why our cloud architect and cloud engineering programs are so different. If you trained a cloud engineer without coding skills, without Terraform skills, without Linux skills, they're not getting hired. You give Terraform skills, Linux skills, and coding skills to an architect, and they go on an interview, and it's like, yeah, so what? Tell me what you know about architecture or about business. It's irrelevant to them. I mean, it's not completely irrelevant, but you get the concept. So it's a matter of whatever you do. You want a pizza? You cook a pizza. You want a steak? You cook a steak. You want some mutton? You cook mutton. Yeah, but you can't turn beef into mutton, and you can't turn.
What catches my attention on these job descriptions is you'll see it, and there's red flags in these job descriptions. You'll see something. You'll see 50 different coding languages. In reality, you'll see like 3 different coding languages. All the coding languages accomplish the exact same thing. There's no reason that one person should know all 3 of them. There's no reason a job should require you to know all of them because they're all going to be used in place of each other. So when you see that these job descriptions want people that can do all these things that accomplish the same singular task, it's a red flag.
Oh, come on, weren't you amused by the one that wanted 15 years Kubernetes experience that wasn't 15, and Kubernetes wasn't even 15 years old?
Exactly. Exactly. So he asked a follow-up question. How do you educate the employers?
We don't have to.
You don't. You skip them.
You skip them. What'll happen is the hiring managers or the recruiters will come to you. If your profile is built up, my average student gets 3 to 10 requests from hiring managers and recruiters every single day, and they know what they want. Now, if you apply for a job, that's not going to be that way. So the key is you've got to know the right recruiters, you've got to have the right profiles, you've got to have the right skills. So when people come to you, and I promise you, if you build it right, 3 to 10 people every single day. I had to remove the words cloud architect off my LinkedIn profile because I was getting over 25 per day. Every single time I made a LinkedIn post, I got upwards of 25 people saying, I need you on my team. Every YouTube video got me another 10. Every email that I sent that got a recruiter on my list got me more. And I was getting so many of them, I had to remove it. So I just say CEO and thought leader.
Yeah, I get because of my title on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you get them too, Mike. We just don't talk about them.
Yeah.
Because you're CEO and I'm COO. How many messages do you get asking, are you looking for talent? Are you looking to hire people?
At least 15 a day.
If I was looking, I wouldn't be using you.
Yeah. if unsolicited emails, no, I'm not looking.
Yeah. But Killian does another follow-up, and this is where you need to run for the hills.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps they're looking 2-in-1 role. You'll find out on the interview.
Yeah.
And then run.
Now, if you find this out, Khalid, if someone wants a cloud architect and a cloud engineer in the same person, run.
Yeah.
Because it's really a cloud engineering job, and I promise you, you will fail.
Unless you want to be a cloud engineer.
Well, it's okay if you want to be a cloud engineer, but you will fail if you try to design and build at the same time.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to look at the big picture, the second you try to build, you lose focus of the big picture. So I can promise you, if you try to be a cloud architect and a cloud engineer at the same time, it's a disaster. I tried it once or twice when I was in my early 20s, and trust me, you can't do it.
Can't do both.
And this is not something unique to the tech industry.
No, it's not.
I come from 12 years in hospitality. It annoys the ever living daylights out of me when the company that I worked for a company who they managed the HR from the top instead of us locally at the hotel. and they would have these job descriptions for a front desk representative that's like, 50 pages long of descriptions. And I'm like, I don't even know. I've never done this stuff. And
Right.
I'm hiring the person. I've never like done some of this stuff. How is this on the job description?
Right.
Can I,
And
can I change it? No,
yeah,
no, you
right.
can't.
And you
And
know
that's the problem. HR won't let you change.
HR won't let you change it. You should have seen the job description from my first job with WorldCom.
Yeah.
10 years BGP, 10 years OSPF, 10 years EIGRP, 10 years Data Link Switching Plus, 10 years
Entry
Apple
level.
Talk, IPX. You know
Entry
what? I have
level.
much experience on, and that was for the network engineer job. I went on the interview for my first job, zero experience, and they said, well, you interviewed for a network engineer job. That's not good enough. I'm going to make you a senior network engineer. But I didn't have any experience at all. Zero.
Right. But you know what's really fascinating is that they want 300 years of all this combined experience. And yet, if you were that good and had all that experience, would you settle for that role?
No.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, you want all of this. And I want people to think about that is that, okay, A, they want all this experience for a role that has nothing to do with one or the other. Two, if you had that experience, would you settle for that position, that role title, and the money? No. So you have to be discerning in your focus and what you want in your role and what you want in a job in an organization.
Have to.
All right. Here's where I'll wrangle us back in. Sorry, I saw that.
This is getting good, man.
I saw that, and I know it. I know it's such a big problem out there. So I said we got to address it because it's never going to get fixed.
It wouldn't have been a problem if all of us that were actually working as architects did our thing. But the second they made a certification, which was the name of a service and how to configure it, which is administration, not architecture, and called it a solution architect training, all the people that weren't working as architects that don't know what an architect is say, I'm a solution architect. I configure stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why. It's the name of the certification.
I think Praveen wants to throw something in here.
Yeah, so I want to say something. My experience is different on coding side. So what is my concern or my observation here? Let's say Mike is a client or Mike runs a company where Mike has enormous data, like petabyte of data. Mike heard about the cloud, AWS or cloud. Mike heard about data science, machine learning, AI. Now Mike and team doesn't have any idea about cloud, any presence in cloud. Now Mike wants to hire someone who can do something with the data. How Mike can decide whom I should hire? Shall I hire someone having good experience in big data solution architect? We hire someone who has experience in data science, machine learning. Now Mike is confused what to do. Mike will talk to like some other guy and like experienced manager or some solution architect who doesn't have any idea about cloud or just heard about cloud or heard about big data. He will come up with the job description and he will put everything in the job description. Everything.
Yep.
Right? Everything. Now what will happen? They will select someone based on the CV, not based on the knowledge. They will start the interview and based on the answer, they will say, okay, he's talking about something he can get out of the data. Okay, this guy's in my checklist. Something like that. So rather than engineer, data engineer, architect, now he will start to do that. After 5 rounds of 10 rounds of interview, means 10 candidate, he will learn it. What kind of candidate he needs. It's kind of reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Then they will decide. So that kind of job description I have seen in the market.
Yeah.
They are talking about coding. I cannot do data engineering stuff. I cannot write Python code. Only what I can do, I can copy from GitHub. I can change the variable name, connection string, Parquet to CSV to JSON, something like that. But I cannot code.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like I can go to oh god, it's been years since I've done it. What is it? Overstack and GitHub and just copy and paste. Just like,
but I would say that after like 3-4 years, you will see very clean JD where they will not ask coding from a cloud architect or solution architect. It will take 4 or 5
at that
years.
company. Now another company, they're going to have that same cycle, and they're going to start, and then it's going to take them the same cycle to figure it out. I mean, it's and that's why I said it's not something that's going to change, because you're always going to have companies that are figuring it out.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, they don't go the right way to figure it out.
Yeah.
They don't.
They go the wrong way.
A lot of trial and error.
All right.
Really, but Chris, if I could just take this in a slight tangent for a second. When it comes to asking for advice to maximize your career, let me give you some suggestions. Don't ask your friends how to build your career. Ask people that are senior, principal, distinguished in the role that you want. Ask somebody that's been hiring the people for 10 years that's in the role that you want, but do not ask your peers if you are studying to get your first job, because your peers, if they're trying to get the same job as you, don't know, because if they did know, they'd be hired already. So try to not ask your peers. One other piece of advice, asking for help, ask the actual job. So say, I would like help to become a cloud architect. I would like help to become a cloud security architect. Because what do most people say? I'd like to know what certifications I should get. And you know what? That's about as accurate as if I told you, go to the airplane and jump on an airplane to get to your destination. And I didn't ask you where your destination. You might be going to New Delhi. You may be going to Cape Town. You may be going to Brisbane. You may be going to New York. I don't know where you're going to go. Just jump on an airplane. So make sure you mention the career. Sorry to get off the soapbox. I just really want to help everyone.
No, that needed to be said.
Here's the best comment so far. Not the discussion I want, but it's the discussion we need.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes that happens.
That was so funny. That was poignant.
Yeah.
Very.
Oh, all right. Moving back to the topic at hand. So, Alonzo, would you like to share about your books and authors, or would you like me to go?
Well, okay, I'll do it. So
I mean, I didn't prepare, so I'm trying.
you didn't? Okay, well, I'll give you a little time back there.
I can't prepare. I'm pulling levers back here.
But it's this goes all the way back. I've always been a creative type, so I've always been into science fiction. I've even for my former career, I've created concept characters for games, serial characters, all this different stuff. So I've had a chance to actually do some hands-on illustration. So my thoughts are always been towards creating something out of nothing, environments, characters, scenes, themes, even creating like stories themselves. So I always gear myself towards that. But as I continue to move towards different aspects of my career in different facets, I started doing more strategic based books on how to win, how to be able to engage customers, how to be able to engage anyone for that matter. So without further ado, I'm going to give you 3 books that I like, that I've really worked with. The first is called Make Your Bed by Admiral William H. McRaven. He is a former SEAL Team 6 commander, and he's done a lot of interesting action guy stuff. But I liked his philosophy on it's not about what he's done, but how he engaged any type of scenario, whether it's with his folks that he commanded in his unit, or things that he's actually done. So his focus was a lot about getting up, starting your day. And a lot of the chapters that he focused on is that if you want to change the world, then blank, 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 blank. So a lot of the chapters that he subscribes to, one in particular really stood out to me, is that if you want to change the world, be your very best in the darkest moments. So if anyone is ever familiar with, I've been surrounded with a lot of folks from the military, whether it be family or friends. And once you get engaged with certain environments and certain groups, you understand the training that they go through, the attrition rate, the odds of them being able to make it from point A to point B are astounding and astronomical. So based on SEAL training, it's gone The attrition rate has gone as high as 20% or as low as 10%, which means out of every 10 folks, only one make it or only two make it out of all that. People train for days, months or years to try to become a Navy SEAL or become anyone in that special operations community. So when you think about all the folks that go through it, they're physically tough. They've probably done all sorts of continuous hardcore training, but at the very focus of it is that it's the mental piece that you need to focus on more than anything else. So taking it back to what the chapter 8 is that if you want to change the world, be your very best in the darkest moments, you're dealing with almost insurmountable challenges all day long. And this is not even what you would call Hell Night or Hell Week, which is a week-long process of doing lots of challenges of what they call evolutions continuously for days on end. So just imagine that and put that to a side. A regular day with their training, you're looking at about 15 to 16 hours a day. So you're going to be thinking about all sorts of different things. You see people to your left, you see people to your right. They're thinking about quitting, or they've already dropped and they're walking to the bell, which is an indicator to everyone, whether it's in the instructors or the class. 3 rings lets everyone know I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm dropping on request or DOR. So you're seeing all this stuff happen before your eyes. I'm sure you're starting to question, is this for me? Can I do it? Is this really what I want to do? Am I strong enough? Am I quick enough? Am I all this other stuff, all this doubt comes into your head. So it becomes a really dark situation for yourself mentally. So it's about, if you want to change the world, be your very best in your darkest moments. You have to put that aside, the doubt, the fear, all the things that you think are obstacles or are obstacles to you reaching that goal. If you want to be SEAL, then you do whatever it needs to be done to get it accomplished. You have to realize that if with all the folks who want to be a certain specific skill set or a Navy SEAL, you are one of the few that actually got on the sand to be there to train. So right off the mark, you have to say to yourself, I already beat some insurmountable odds. How can I beat more? It's just one foot in front of the other. You have to it's like a turkey. You don't shove the whole thing in your mouth. You tear off a piece and you start gnawing on it piece by piece and being able to accomplish those goals in smaller, digestible pieces. Let's see what I can do in an hour. Let's see what I can do in 2 hours, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How can I complete this day? Can I complete this week? And you keep going until it's done. Now, let's take it to any career, specifically cloud. Everyone asks themselves, I was doing, say for instance, there's someone who was actually a cook, a chef. How can I swing it over from creating culinary delights to be able to architect these awesome designs for different companies? It all starts with you. Your darkest moments, throw them out, because you are your own worst enemy. You are the car, like I said before. Are you going to brake for fear, or are you going to accelerate and break past those moments, those walls, those obstacles that tell you I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, I'm not this, I'm not that, all the negativity. Because on the other side of the fear are your goals reimagined and realized right before your eyes. So you have to decide, is this what I want to do? And if this is what you want to do, there are no plan Bs. You get it done, you knock it out, plan your work your plan, get your obstacles removed, whether it's personal, whether it's financial, whether it's physical, mental, whatever it is. You design how you want your life to be, you execute, and you reach that goal. So that's the book that I really like to read. It's a very positive book. Mike, Chris, and myself, we will be adding the links to how you can get these titles of these books, and whatever resonates to you, we'll add that in the link below. But I wanted to share that first one. Now, the second one is.
Thank God. Sorry, I'm sweating over here. I'm like, I got nothing. I hope he's got more.
Oh yeah, I've got 2 more that I want to throw at you.
Right.
And it's just really one of the things that outside of cloud architecture and technology. Mike and I both have similar backgrounds in martial arts. I used to train in Chamandi, Penchak Silat, and also in Kali years before for over 10 years. And I understand, and also I trained in Aido in Japan with Japanese swordsmanship. So I've had like a different diverse background on a lot of the martial arts that I've had to train. And with that type of mentality, you start understanding how do I face my enemy? How do I defeat my enemy? How do I emerge victorious? So you think a lot about that and you start searching for that knowledge to help you win, not only as they did in feudal Japan or in any other warrior case across the world throughout history, but you also internalize that and apply yourself with the enemy of myself is doubt, fear, hesitation, procrastination, all these type of things, and you're able to plug those specific scenarios into your brain according to this book. Now, this book is called Book of the Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi, he was a renowned samurai in feudal Japan, and based on the information that I had, he had never lost a duel. Unfortunately, the only thing that took him out was stomach cancer. But outside of that, he was an unbeatable warrior. And one of the things, two bullet points that I want to discuss. The first one he said in this book is that there is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to be better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. Everything is within. Everything exists. Seek nothing outside of yourself. That caught me because we always blame it's this, it's that. I don't have this, I don't have that. He, she, it, whatever is in my way. No, it is not. Because when you decide and resolve yourself to meet this goal, realize these goals, be able to push past anything that you want in life. It's funny, like say for instance, if you're in a dangerous situation, you're going to find a way to survive. I don't think any of those excuses are going to resonate in your brain when you're in a situation where you could get hurt, or you might need your car breaks down in a snowstorm, and you're not going to make all these excuses. Oh, it's cold outside. I don't want to walk. It's too dark out there. I don't want to go out there. I don't know what's out there. You're going to figure out what needs to be done to resolve this situation. So it's all internal. You have to resolve yourself internally to meet your goals, go past your enemies, your challenges, anything that gets in your way, and you have to just make it up in your mind that I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a cloud architect. I'm going to be a cloud engineer. I am going to move past this job that may not meet my financial expectations or my overall goals for my life and my family, and I am going to get this thing done, come quote unquote hell or high water, because this is what you have resolved to do. This is how you want to get things done. And if you want to get things done, you're going to make a way to make it happen. So the second bullet point I like, it's called, actually what he said was, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. I thought about that. And you think a lot about what you want for your life, what you want for your family. I want to be rich. I want to get an awesome salary. I want this awesome 24 karat platinum career role that I want for myself. I want this, I want that. But however, how are you going to change the world? How are you making an impression in this world today? What are you going to leave behind besides your desires to get things accomplished? For me, I really like making a difference at Go Cloud Careers. I really like helping people, posting on LinkedIn. Someone asked me a question about how do they think their video went, or how I can offer any type of advice based on my experiences, not only as a cloud architect, but also in my prior career in anything that I've done previously. So I like to help. And in a lot of ways, I'm changing the world because I am exchanging my knowledge, and I'm using that as currency to help build someone else's life, to be able to help change where they're going, where they're not happy about, and be able to provide some sort of knowledge some sort of hope, some sort of inspiration. Even if I try not to, I'm able to make these things happen because it's what I want to do. It's how I want to make an impression in life. So those are the 2 bullet points that I wanted to share with Book of 5 Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Now, the third book is called, and I think a lot of people may have been familiar with this book. It was very popular over the last.
Hold on real quick.
Yeah. Sure.
So Omar asked, is this the same samurai that unified Japan? Or is this
no, it's a different one. It's a different one. Yeah.
All right. I wanted to ask that before we got on to the third book.
Yeah, Miyamoto Musashi, he was a part of a higher caste system. The one that unified Japan, he was from a lower caste, and he worked his way up through subterfuge, a little bit of backstabbing, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I'm going to work my way up to get there. He did some things and he got some stuff done. So, but it wasn't the same character. I cannot remember his name. It's at the tip of my tongue, but I will. I promise to get that information to you. So the third book is called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Awesome book. It really, it's kind of like a new world extrapolation of Sun Tzu, Miyamoto Musashi, Kokoro. It's another book. And it creates a visual and mental focus on how to adapt to today's world, today's challenges. So I'm not going to go through all 48, of course, but I will go through 3 laws out of the 48 that really resonated with me. And the first one is it's law number 4, and it says, always say less than necessary. And it resonates to me because I can't remember the quote that I got it from, but it says, better to be silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and confirm it. You have to be careful with what you say. You have to, especially in an interview. If you under talk, they're not going to get all the information that they want out of you. But if you over talk and over explain, talk a whole lot of fluff that has no meaning, you're going to kill your opportunities right there. So be specific in what they ask. If they ask for A, you give them A. Don't give them A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That time will come. But if it is in relationship to how you can expound on that knowledge while staying within the realm of A, stay there. Stay focused on each ask in that interview. Stay focused on each goal that you want to reach. Don't add anything extra. Even in, say, for instance, project management, it's called gold plating. The customer didn't ask for it, so why are you giving it? Stay focused on what you want and what the ask is in your life, or how you want to answer any type of questions. Let your yes be yes, your no be no, and nothing extra. So the next one is law number 9. And law number 9 is win through your actions, never through an argument. And if people agree with you through your actions instead of your words, you are more likely to sway lasting opinions than to argue it and be considered a fool, and to be an emotional one at that. Action is where you demonstrate your beliefs. So with that being said, if you want to articulate with a client, and say, for instance, you're a cloud architect and you want to articulate with a client, but you may have a doubting Thomas, if you will, that works for the organization in their specific IT cloud tech department who grossly disagrees with your execution. Don't argue with them. However, convince them through your intelligence, through your emotional intelligence, through how you're able to exact and explain this to the boss, how you articulate that. Give the bullet points why. Argue not emotionally, but argue logically, intellectually about why your point is better. And not only that, don't discourage or downplay your opponent, but rather use that knowledge to uplift them if they're your opponent. So there's 2 things that's going to happen. Either negatively, you've already created an enemy. You used emotional disparagement to not only embarrass yourself, but put down those that go against you in light of folks who are in charge of whether you're going to get that account or get that job or not. So that is not the right way to go. But however, you're able to bring your point across logically. You're able to edify your opponent. You're able to uplift them with knowledge, and you'll be able to expound logically and intelligently the ideas that you want to bring across to your client. So those type of examples are really they resonate with me across the board, whether it's in martial arts, whether it's in the boardroom, or whether it's socially, if you're coming across a detractor or someone who is very recalcitrant, to what you want to explain in life. And finally, Law 19. Know who you're dealing with. Don't offend the wrong person. The skill of correctly measuring people is the most important with regard to getting and maintaining power. You have to be sure you know everything about a person before you work with them. So when it comes to intelligence, you have to, if you're going to walk into, like, say, for instance, an interview, recon. It's called reconnaissance. It's a military term where I'm going to go in and I'm going to get as much information about that person as I can. I want to know who they are, where they eat, what they eat, how they've got from one point of their career to the other. Use that information to share, to further give them an understanding. I know about you. I know about your position. I know about your skill set. I know about the company. I know about where I would be, what I would do in this organization. And I'm going to wrap that all in the package of saying how I can get it done with emotional intelligence and the logical understanding of cloud architecture or cloud engineering. So with these are some of the concepts that I just really loved about that book. I really love engaging with people. I love to understand people. I love to understand why they walk, talk, think, why their habits are, how do I interact with this person? And this is some of the engaging things that I like, that have not only helped with my career, but just helped with me socially. So just wanted to share those 3 books and those bullet points with you. And I hope that resonates with anyone who heard it.
Fantastic, Alonzo. Love those books, by the way. I'm actually pretty familiar with 2 of those 3.
Right.
That was amazing. Recalcitrant. All
Yeah,
right.
I like
vocabulary lesson and literature lesson.
There you go. So clearly read a lot. I used to know this person that would always describe recalcitrant sinusitis. I'm like, just give them Levaquin and be done with it. And they were like, no, but about this and this and this. I'm like, here, this will kill anything. Stop thinking about it.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid to ask, what the heck does recalcitrant mean? I know I've heard it.
It keeps coming back and it keeps coming back. It's stubborn.
Okay.
Just refusing to, Mike said it best.
All right. There we go. See, I'm not afraid to ask.
But really what Alonzo is saying, it all goes with the same art of war. Know yourself, know your enemy, never fear the 1,000 battles. You'll always be victorious. Know yourself and not your enemy. For every win, there'll be one loss. Know your enemy and not yourself. For every win, there'll be one loss. Don't know yourself and don't know your enemy, and you lose every time. So most people don't know themselves, and they definitely don't know their enemy.
Right.
Hence the reason most job interviews don't go through. Know yourself and the hiring manager. Hey, you may get hired because now you know. Know yourself and not the hiring manager. It's 50-50. It's luck. I don't like luck. To me, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So prepare.
Mm-hmm.
So when the opportunity is there, then you can make your own luck.
Do you have any thoughts on that amazing synopsis, Praveen? You're
muted, Praveen.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah. So can you repeat it, please?
Do you have anything to add to that conversation? It was an amazing synopsis.
No, yeah, really not onto that. So that book is very new for me, and thanks to Alonzo that he explained in a very good way, like professional book review, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying
it was really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should get paid. Like authors.
Yeah.
I think that might be working itself out, Praveen. There may be some surprising things coming soon.
Yeah. But he's talking about from authors.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I I read one book and I started to read it after the joining the course, this Go Cloud Architect course, Empathy, and that book was from Harvard Business Review. That book they write some book, and it was like series of emotional intelligence. What is empathy? And they actually talk about that listening skill. So empathy you can develop. You should have very good listening skill, and you should be a very good listener. So they start from that, and they say that it's very typically way. If you are very powerful, it will make you very less empathetic. So be careful while you are having power and how you are using the power. That kind of discussion they do in the book, and they take refer from good, like maybe author, some thinker like Annie Mackey, Jack Gensler. Those guys are there. They say that what great listeners actually do. They explain that, and you will have to think, oh. And there is one example that there was that is not basically from that particular book, but I can correlate the power of active listening, and that worked in interview for me. Uh, and also I'm utilizing the same in my current role and job. So one lady was working in the kitchen, and her 12-year-old son came suddenly and said, "Mom, you love me so much." Mom said, "What's new in that? How do you feel? How did you think that? How did it come to your mind?" And he said that, "Mom, this is very simple. Whenever I start to ask anything, whenever I start to speak anything, you pause all the task, you stop and start to listening to me. Now see the difference that you love me. How did that guy feel? Because she stopped everything and started to listen to him, right? So this is the impact of listening. So the guy you are talking to, you are into conversation, and that guy, if you feel that you are a good listener, that guy will have different respect
Exactly.
for you, right? They will start to take you seriously. No, he is very good listener, right? So those kind of they talk in that book. Uh, Even they talk about product design. They give example how Facebook uses empathy to keep user data safe. Many philosophy, many example, many use cases are there. I cannot explain too many things there, but yeah, if you want to develop empathy, if you want to understand the importance of empathy, how to develop that, how it is related to emotional intelligence, and how it is related to your active listening skill, so those things you can develop. So yeah.
Absolutely, you can develop them. I wish the whole world could get the empathy training that I had. If I could send everybody to nurse practitioner schools or medical schools to get empathy training, I would. In fact, when I with students in our cloud architect career development program, our cloud engineer career development program, and our tech career accelerator program, all of them, I teach the empathy the way you would teach doctors and nurses, because I feel like everybody should get that level of empathy. It's different than other people do. And active listening is not about just being quiet. It's about being there, and it's about when somebody speaks and repeating it back to them to show that they understood you. It's about looking at somebody in the eye, making sure your body language is there. It's not just about being quiet. There's a lot that goes into active listening, and this is a skill that needs to be taught. And when you add empathy to the mix, I mean, realistically speaking, you are talking about a massive, massive boost to your career. So training emotional intelligence on average raises somebody's salary by about $30,000. Training their soft skills for a tech professional about $60,000. So you're talking about $100,000 delta in somebody's pay from focusing on emotional intelligence and empathy and communication skills. So if I've got any advice for you, my students get it in the career development program. And if you're not with us, get some kind of emotional intelligence and empathy training.
Alonzo, you got people ready to run through the walls, man. that was an amazing analysis.
Well, I hope I'm helpful, and it's just when you're around Mike and Chris and Praveen, and you have all these awesome minds and working with everyone, it's really hard to not be able to flourish and grow and share all this cool stuff that you've learned and contribute. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I should have gone first. I'm going to keep going through the comments here because I mean, it wasn't just me. Everybody loved what you had to say.
One thing that I want people to understand is I learned. People say experience is a great teacher, but observation is too. And I've learned to fail up, and I failed a lot. I didn't learn this and say I'm cracking open a book and saying, okay, I got it. I don't have any marks on my sheet. I've made tons of mistakes, and I've grown from them. I've learned how to temper those mistakes and focus on what I want, not deviate from anything based on naysayers. Why are you doing this? You're an artist. Why are you going into tech? That's really swinging the pendulum from A to Z, from creative to logical, from different sides of the brain. And I just was able to take the time through patience, belief in myself, an awesome supportive wife who was like the best wife in the world to me, and being able to focus on myself, grow and execute, plan your work your plan, get it done. Come here to Go Cloud Careers. If you know someone who wants to be a cloud in the cloud space, there's no place on this planet they're going to get this type of environment in this community. And I say that to anybody.
Yeah.
Anyone with proper English.
I got a good one for you. This one, hopefully you appreciate it like I
do. I've been called that before, so I am not offended at all. So I'm not.
I didn't feel you were.
That's what they would call me when I was in Japan. So it's funny. So
I forget that you actually lived in Japan.
Yeah.
So okay. So for everyone that's wondering, how did the whole Japan and samurai thing happen? Did that happen? Did your interest in that occur while you were there, or was it before you lived there?
I had this desire to go to Japan. I always loved the samurai. I loved what they stood for. I loved their code of honor. I even studied that the very, I can't remember the actual name of them, but the very pants are pleated in 7 different ways, and there's 7 different aspects of the code of honor that they live by. And it was just something phenomenal for me. So I decided back then in my early career in graphic design that I took time off. I took a long sabbatical off of work. I pulled a ridiculous amount of money out of my 401k, paid my rent months in advance, found this school called the Japanese Center for Michigan Universities when I was living in Michigan at the time, got my visa, got everything lined up, and I went to go to school out there. And I didn't know anyone. Everyone thought I was nuts. Everyone wondered where this came from. But it goes right back to the laws of what I was saying. You execute your plan. It doesn't matter who's afraid to try this, in which case they will be naysayers and try to drag you back, because the fearful are always lonely. So I executed. I got out there and I learned a whole lot of Japanese. I learned about, I was able to take martial arts. I was able to learn swordsmanship out there in Japan. And it was one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had in my life. And this happened 20 years ago. And to this day, I'm still, and I stayed with multiple families called a homestay. And to this day, I still speak with them. So out of fear, or out of those who would be fearful to execute their plan, look at what they would have missed if they let it stop them.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, don't be afraid. Go after your dreams. I remember I was, in the office every day, Wake up. I'd be in the office by 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd be dealing with insurance companies that didn't want to pay for my patient's care. I'd be dealing with the government that didn't want to pay for my patient's care. I'd be dealing with people that were in chronic pain, so they weren't happy people. And I was working like 15 hours a day. And when I said, no mas, I'm going to tech. I want to go work in tech. Everybody told me I was crazy. They're like, you can't do that. I said, watch me. And then I spoke to people in tech and they're like, you can't do that. And they said, watch me. The point was, I was in tech 6 months later. It was no big deal. Anybody can do anything they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just like people can gain weight, people can lose weight. People can get in shape, they can get out of shape. You want to get in shape, you go to the gym. Start working out. Obviously, the appropriate plan. But I want to say one thing. I saw Eddie Cam's name pop up there. He's in Cameroon right now. And Cameroon is 6 hours ahead of us. And it's 7:30 Eastern. So that makes it 12:30, 1:30, and he's still here. So we've got some amazing people as part of this community that are here in the middle of the night. And I got to acknowledge that and say thank you and say, people that are working this hard to build their career, you are going to achieve things that you can't even imagine. So keep it up. Fight for your dreams. Go for your dreams and conquer.
Yeah. And somebody tried calling me out here saying I'm trying to avoid giving my book list. It's not really that hard for me to avoid it when I've got Alonzo and Mike here. Just yap. It's really easy for me to get away with not giving my answers. So we'll keep going.
And you can see what will happen. Imagine if Alonzo and I were to call each other after this show. You can only imagine what that call would be like. So
yeah,
I
we will be up late.
Yeah. So
Black Summer says he's in Ghana again. Another person, because now I think we're dealing with an additional time zone. Well, Ghana may be in the same time zone as Cameroon because it's both sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah. So yeah, let's keep the procrastination up, Alonzo. Can you draw anime?
I'm rusty. I had my drawing board. I had all sorts of stuff. I can. I haven't done it in a while, but I drew lots of mecha, tons of mecha. I would come up with my own mecha. So, yeah.
I don't know what mecha is. I can imagine what mecha is.
Those giant Japanese robots.
Okay. Yeah. So, Mike, in case you wondered what that lead-in was for that premiere that we did with Nick.
That
was a version of mecha.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
It was really close up and zoomed in on it. It was hyper real, but it was very hyper real.
Oh, we've got Cedric in South Africa. And
keep up the
Black Summers in Ghana. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah,
tell us where you're from in the chat box.
Yeah.
Let's start with Praveen first. Let's start with Praveen. I want to know exactly where he's from.
Where I'm from, my native are here in USA.
All right.
Everywhere. Where are you? Where are you from originally, and where are you at now?
Oh, I'm from India, northern part of India, and here I'm in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
We know about Philly. I grew up in Philly. I got to come. Praveen, my wife's in Philadelphia right now, and I got to get up there and see you very soon.
Oh. I can meet. I can invite her.
I have to get up there and see you. We've had so many conversations.
Praveen's got to get a Philly meetup done. Let him get that figured out before he starts.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Jawad.
You're waiting for Jawad. All right. Good luck with that. Jawad just started his new job. He's going to be busy.
Actually, he
just got hired by AWS. He was a really great student in our program. We loved working with Jawad. He was fantastic. I think we just released a video about him.
We did today. Yes. Yeah. So my strategy is at work here. Just keep everybody else talking about other things. But in reality, I guess I'll take the opportunity to talk about my books. So I'm not going to give myself the full screen here. I don't like the full screen. But so I set the topic. Apparently didn't think I needed to prepare for the topic because I didn't realize that they were going to come with a thesis about each book that they had prepared. So I came with just some ideas in my head. But again, this is Head in the Clouds with Mike and Alonzo, not Chris. So Chris doesn't need to be prepared. Let's see. I'm not sure what I don't.
We had been asked a question about someone that wanted to know if they could do a cloud career with ADD.
Okay. Yeah, you can address
So
that. I can't see it.
the question was asked, it was, can you have a cloud career with ADD? And the answer is, of course you can. So there's people with learning disabilities that have cloud careers, like dyslexic people. There's plenty of ADD people. In fact, if you go to any company right now, I'm pretty much going to tell you that 90% of the community has ADD. In fact, if you walked into a hospital and met nurses, I would actually tell you statistically, at least 50% of medical professionals are obsessive compulsive. And they need to be obsessive compulsive, because if we're not, and we don't check in on our patients a million times a day, people die. So the key with ADD is, yes, you can do it. Now, there are multiple treatments for ADD. Treatments can be anything from meditation and yoga and hard exercise, which is what I've been using for the last 20 years because my brain's all over the place. There are stimulant drugs that are used, such as Ritalin, as well as Adderall. I prescribed some of that for patients with ADD in the past, and they've done very well with both of them. And there also are some alpha adrenergic blockers that also can be prescribed for ADD with good results. And some of these drugs that we're talking about are very cheap medications. I only say this because, with drug costs, some can be $1,000 and some can be $2,000. Some of these drugs we're talking about are $2 drugs, so they can be treated. But it's like anything else. And me, I've got an attention span problem, as do most executives. It's a discipline thing. I just try and work on it. I try and work on it. And as soon as I want to go talk to Cindy the cat, I go there. So it's a thing that if you've got a challenge, there are medical professionals that can help you with this. I wanted to let you know that this is not medical advice, because we're over different countries, over the internet. I haven't seen you, I haven't examined you, but here's the thing to know. Yes, it can be treated, and yes, you can build a great career. And people like me that are a little all over the place are doing it every day, and you can too.
I'm still trying to find that question. I'm like, well, where did this question? I don't even know. How far back was that question?
It was about 45 minutes ago. It was just popping in my head because I don't want anybody to think there's a reason.
Find it. I'm looking for questions that popped in the past 10 minutes. Okay. All right. Okay. I thought I was going crazy. That is not part of my delay tactic, I promise. Yes, Chris is definitely on the floor. He's also trying to run away, but he's got to run the show. All right. So I did not come prepared with a thesis to present to everyone about my topics. I did that in college. Not doing that again. So I'll start off with my favorite author. My favorite author is Nathaniel Hawthorne. He is the author of many short stories and a couple of, I guess they're called novels. He's the author of Scarlet Letter. But in particular, my favorite is Young Goodman Brown, which is one of his short stories. For various reasons, it's that I'm not going to go into. It's just too in depth, and I'm not prepared to go in depth. But I've never been able to quite put my finger on why I like it or why I like his writing. I don't like any of his contemporaries' writing. I don't like anyone else's writing from the time period. He's from the early 1800s. I don't like anyone else. Herman Melville, none of the people from that same time period. The Walden, the guy that wrote Walden, no, could care less. I'm not a fan of any of that. But for some reason, I'm a fan of Nathaniel Hawthorne. So that is my favorite author. My favorite book would be A Scarlet Letter. Again, never been able to put my finger on it. I picked it up in high school, and I loved it. I was a high school kid who loved a book written 200 years before and couldn't tell you why he loved it. That doesn't make any sense to me. I wrote essays about it. I don't remember what I wrote, but so that is my favorite author and my favorite book. Now, with that being said, there are a couple of books that I've read recently that I really enjoy. I really enjoy it. I don't know exactly what it's considered. It's not a novel, but it's a publication based off of a research study done at the University of Chicago during the 1950s. It's called When Prophecy Fails. And it is about it's about mass delusions, cults, things of that nature. A group of professors and researchers from the University of Chicago infiltrated a cult and embedded themselves in the cult, and their entire research was based on how they handled this coming end of the world, or this coming, change that was going to happen, how they handled when it didn't happen, and the lengths that they would go to deal with it not happening. Because if they had acknowledged that it didn't happen, that would have completely shattered their reality. And so it's just a very intriguing read. And towards the end of it, it gets really in depth into the cognitive dissonance that these people had to practice to keep up the belief that this thing was still a reality when it was clearly not a reality.
Yeah.
And do what?
It had to be so difficult to be able to keep your distance but still stay in that realm.
Yeah, it's the depth that they went with it. It was two professors or two, and then I think it was 4 or 5 students, TAs, volunteers from the university, and some of them were kicked out because the group realized, hey, they're not actually believers. So you get and again, it's called When Prophecy Fails, and so you get the entire aspect. You get the perspective from everybody that infiltrated it, because you get the perspective from the people that were kicked out. You get the perspective from the people that stayed in. You get the perspective from the people that were from the outside looking in, and it's a very intriguing read. Again, it's from 1955 or 1956. They published it immediately after everything had collapsed.
Wow.
That was an intriguing read. And that one actually came to me from Facebook. I got bored and I said, somebody tell me a good book to read. No other qualifications. Tell me a good book to read. And that was one of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in addition to that, there's also The History of the Future. Let me find the full title. I've got it right here.
I've heard of that book before.
It's The History of the Future, Oculus, Facebook, and the revolution that swept virtual reality. And for any of you that are familiar with Oculus Rift and virtual reality, the Facebook Oculus. This is the story of Palmer Luckey, the 17-year-old who created the modern virtual reality in a trailer in his parents' garage. And
oh wait, did he have 20 years experience to do that?
Yes, it was a qualification. It was a requirement that he had to make for himself, that he needed 20 years. No, in reality, he was upset that Virtual Boy from the 90s didn't take off. And so he was upset that he didn't have a real virtual reality thing. So he went and made it.
Wow.
He went and made it a reality at 17. And it's the entire story from the beginning.
Wow.
And I haven't finished it yet. But it goes all the way through. He and his group of people that turned this into a company that is bought by Facebook for $3 billion. And it goes through the entire story of him and his small group of people getting. Imagine the drama in a small group like that going in 4 years, going from a trailer and
Billions.
and into billions.
That sounds like a movie in the making.
Exactly. Well, so the same guy that wrote Console Wars, that they turned into a Netflix movie. He wrote the Console Wars, which is the story of Sega versus Nintendo from the 90s.
Oh wow.
Or 80s and 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember the author's name. It's Blake J. Harris is the author, but he's very in depth. But the history of the future, it's a really interesting story, because again, it's a 17-year-old who created what everybody's raving about now with the Oculus and virtual reality. And he did it because he was upset that there wasn't a good one. So he made it
for you.
And then right now I am reading, make sure I get it on the screen. No.
Yeah, got it. Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habit.
And it's very interesting. I'm only this far into it. So I'm only 2.5 chapters in, but this is the quick synopsis of it. Is it's about how to improve yourself or make changes to yourself through habits, small habits, little habits, not big habits, just small incremental changes, small incremental improvements over long periods of time equal massive improvements.
Yeah.
And so what stuck out to me, and this is actually what just prompted me to make this topic, and I apologize for not being prepared, but you're welcome that you got this amazing review from Mike and Alonzo. But this line here, this entire chapter, but this is what caught my attention and made me think of this topic. So this is at the beginning of the show. I asked Alonzo to talk about, what should I do? What can I do? What can I be? How do I decide what I can do or and there's a reason I did that. It's because you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. So here's the excerpt that made me think about making this our topic for today. It says, the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. So as an example, I'm trying to quit smoking, and somebody offers me a cigarette, and I say, no, thank you, I'm trying to quit. Alonzo's trying to quit smoking. Somebody offers him a cigarette. Alonzo says, no, I don't smoke. He's not trying to quit. He just doesn't smoke. Simple little things like that. It's like, can I be an architect?
I am an architect.
I am an architect. And that's something that we tell all of our students. You're architects. If you're in our architect program, you're an architect. Think like an architect. So that line right there hit home for me. And I was just like, wow. And so obviously made me go into the next chapter, which is nice. More intriguing. But it got me thinking. I was like, we say this every day.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that I came across that line the same day that somebody had asked, well, what can I do? And it was like the final straw on the camel's back that day. I was like, Mike, you're going to make a video about this. I'm tired of getting this question. Everybody asks, what can I do? Or what should I do? It's not what should you do or what can I do? It's what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? If you know what you want to do and decide what you want to do, then you can accomplish it.
And it's not that we don't want to answer the question, but the key is that anybody can do anything they achieve, but they have to put their mind to it. So we come online 3 times a week for free on Monday, Wednesday, Friday So people can ask us, I would like to be a cloud engineer. How do you get there? So we can tell them how to get there. So when someone says, I did this in the past, I'm like, okay, that's interesting history. Now, what do you really want to do? Because that's what we can impact. I can't change your past. History is history, but I can change your future. So let's plan your future. What Chris is talking about, and I'll go back to Chris, is something called neuro-linguistic programming. And it's a science from the 70s, and we still use it. So if I tell all of you, don't think of a pink elephant, you're all going to think of a pink elephant. And here's the reason why. The brain can't process and know. It doesn't know how. So if I say, I don't want to be fat, I'm telling my brain, I'd like to be fat, and I'm going to program myself to eat too much. If I say, I'm a cloud architect, I know it in my mind. It's not saying, I hope to be one. I am one. Because when your mind believes it, and your training believes it, and your focus believes it, you are one. Just thought I'd talk about where the science came from.
That's
Because
true.
I've been studying neurolinguistics for a decade.
You got to rewire your brain.
Yeah, and they that's just a small piece of it. There's other pieces of the science of research that they use, that this writer uses, along with his personal experience. The guy that wrote the book had his face smashed in by a baseball bat when he was 17 and had his life changed forever. Sound familiar, Mike?
Yeah, it does. And here's the thing, for most of you guys don't know, I was training in Israel, some Krav Maga with some elite martial artists, basically the founders. I got invited to go train there because I've been doing martial arts my whole life. And I hurt my foot. I actually tore a ligament and broke several bones and taped it up and continued to train for 2 weeks with it, because how often do you get to train with the founders of Krav Maga? Anyway, I got home and couldn't walk and lost my ability to walk, and for 7 years couldn't walk. And I went to 13 different orthopedic surgeons. They said, forget it, you won't walk again. I went to 13 or 14 neurologists. They said no. I finally even found a specialist that I had a 2.5-year waiting list to go see. And when I went to go see him, he retired right before I got to him. So I literally said, I am going to be healthy. I got some training from some Navy SEALs in terms of being mentally strong. I went to a physical therapist and I said, I don't care what it costs. I want to be better. They spent 6 to 8 hours a day with me. I hired strength and conditioning specialists. They were $150 an hour to train me. They were the people that coach pro athletes. You know what? I became one of them myself just so I could learn how to do it. I was paying $100 an hour for yoga instruction to heal. I became a 500-hour yoga instructor to take care of my health. 8 years later, I can walk. Now, Chris that knows me, Alonzo that knows me, and Perrine knows me, they know I have a special room in my house that I heat to 130 degrees. And I have a 2-hour exercise routine that I have to do in that 130-degree room every day just to be able to walk, to be able to sit in the chair like this. But guess what? I do it because I had no choice. Adapt, improvise, overcome. And I'm telling you, I'm having more fun than I ever have in my life.
Yeah. So I want to circle back before we get to a few things in the chat box.
Yeah.
So I pointed out earlier, I said, pay attention to what Mike's books are. And the same thing was in place for Alonzo. They're both creative types. But what were their book types? They weren't creative. They weren't creations out of thin air. They were some organization, structure. They were what I would call an operations manual, or they're not novels. They're not fiction. But me, on the other hand, I'm not a creative type. And I'm drawn to very creative writing. I don't know if it's only something that I picked up earlier when Mike was talking. I was like, wait, Mike's creative. All his books are not creative. And I'm not creative, but I love creative things. Like I love, like my favorite stuff is artistic and creative. But I'm not creative. Like I am not a creative person.
I think there's something.
I thought that was an interesting thing that I noticed in real time. So, anyway.
I think there's truth because the analytical brain and the creative brains are very different sides. The creative people are right-brained. The analytical people are typically more left-brained. Now there's some variation, but yeah. So
yeah, but find it
we
interesting.
often want to go find things that we're not good at or that are
Exactly.
interesting and unique to us.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. It's like, okay, so I'm an analytical guy. I'm not going to be intrigued by reading these structured things that analyze crap. I'm not going to be intrigued by that.
Yeah.
I like it, but I'm not going to be intrigued by reading about somebody else doing it. I'm going to be intrigued by reading about this guy going out in the woods doing his witchy stuff in Young Goodman Brown, but or reading, the Lord of the Rings or stuff, something like that. That's
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by that. I'm not, but so I thought that was interesting. That's kind of how those were our lines of demarcation. Essentially, the creative people were reading structural books, and the analytical guy was reading not analytical and structured. But so,
Chris,
That's a good point. My wife is analytical and she reads a lot of creative things.
So.
just fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I didn't realize.
Oh, Mike, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just, as soon as Chris, it hit my mind. I went, wait, my wife's got an IQ of 170 and can do calculus in her head. I'm literally not joking. And she reads the most creative stuff in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I had question. I saw that physical copy of your book, right? Hard copy. Why do you choose that generally? You have Kindle option, you have Audible option. Do you have
I
any?
was gonna put that up from the chat box because Victor asked the same question, and I was gonna get everybody to answer it. So I prefer physical. I prefer a physical book. I do listen. I do have a subscription to Audible, and I used it when I drove a lot. I used to drive all the time, and so I would use Audible then, just because there's only so many minutes in a day. When I'm driving, I need to make use of it. But I prefer physical hard copies of books. I can't read a book on a tablet. It doesn't work for me.
I agree. I got to feel the pages in my hand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that tactile reference gives you somehow gives you a peek through the keyhole.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to turn those pages and read that. It's that incremental anticipation of reading that last sentence on one side of the page.
Oh, and flipping it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I enjoy.
There's some adrenaline there when you're
it's just like
flip the page.
What's going to happen, and somehow you have to have the discipline to not flick ahead. Not ruin everything, but being able to temper yourself with patience incrementally to turn those pages to see what happens and not be led to destroy the story for yourself.
Yep. So what's your preference, Praveen?
Depend. I have physical copy also. I don't use Audible because sometimes I feel pressure on my ear and mind because already work from home, so many headphones. If you see right now I'm talking using this. I have this headphone, right? So it's too much. So I don't prefer Audible. I prefer book, or sometimes I prefer Kindle also. When I am traveling, I cannot deal with multiple books or something. Better to keep Kindle. But personally, what I like since my childhood, the smell of that book.
Yeah.
Taste,
The
and you
pages.
cannot
Yeah.
Yep.
Or when you crack it open for the first time.
Oh yeah, and
You
can
smell it,
physically
you feel it.
You feel the crack. Yeah.
You can
And
feel
for
the
me,
knowledge
it's
you're
gotta
going to
be hard
gain. It's
copy.
such a good feeling.
Yeah, it's got to be like one of the references that I had. It's got to be hard copy. I prefer that over.
Oh yeah.
Me too.
The only reason I ever buy paperbacks is if I'm being really cheap and buying a whole ton at once, and because I'll go and buy like a whole ton of books at one time, and just because I'm like, oh, I got a wild hair, I need to go buy a bunch of books. But that brings up a question: what about this? What about today's generation? Like they don't. Do they grow up like they grow up with reading on screens? All of us grew up when we were young. Even me, we grew up with our primary point of reading was not this or not this. It was having to pick this up, or having to pick a magazine up, or having to pick a textbook up, or pick up a newspaper. But nowadays everything, the primary form is screens. So are they going to have that same feel of opening the book? That same, or are they going to have a different variation of, I can't flick the screen just yet. I gotta wait. Gotta flip. Okay, now I can flick the
That's
screen.
a whole different conversation right there, because
it is.
It's the same thing. We just don't have it because we didn't live it.
It's hard to get into this conversation without some
without someone here.
Yeah.
Like I wish we had Eva on right now to be able to ask Eva.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing. But time will tell. I only read paper, and I will print it out or read it in the book for a couple of reasons. One is it's easier on my eyes, but two, if I print it out, I can take notes on it. When we take written notes, it activates a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, which makes us more likely to learn that. Not so when you type it.
Nope.
So there's that benefit. Now, also orthopedically, here's what people do on their phone or their tablet. With a book, I can pick it up and I can sit up straight and not tax my neck. So, the implications of, written versus online or technical is a little different. Let's answer Jay Don's question. So Jay Don, first, in order to be an expert and get a job, you need to know more than one cloud, because 3% of customers are willing to use a single cloud and 97% are not. So you need to know multiple clouds. Now, I will tell you this. Even the Azure Solution Architect Expert is basically an intro to the cloud, like a junior level intro to the cloud. It sounds like a lot, but it's a junior level intro to the cloud. And unfortunately, that exam by itself will not get anybody a job anywhere, because that exam itself is pretty much the name of the service and how to configure that service. But that Azure Solution Architect is very, very good. Very, very good. And we use it as something that gets an interview. So Jay Don, we spend about 20 hours teaching the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional and another 20 hours teaching the Azure Solution Architect Expert. We spend about 460 to 480 hours teaching you how to become a cloud architect. So to put that into context, the certification is good because it helps you get an interview. But to get hired by Microsoft, they're going to be looking for the following: business acumen, CXO relevancy, expert communication skills, leadership skills to manage large team, the ability to do some ROI modeling, sales skills, executive presentation skills, and deep negotiation skills. They're also going to look for network and data center knowledge, which of course we teach all of these things. They're going to be looking for knowledge of BGP, knowledge of interior gateway protocols, knowledge of IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting. They're going to be looking for knowledge of NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. They're going to be looking for knowledge of DHCP, DNS, ARP, proxy ARP, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc. They're going to be looking for a deep knowledge of block storage, object storage, and file storage. They're going to be looking for deep knowledge of databases, when to use a relational database versus a NoSQL database, and how do you scale them. They're going to be looking for knowledge of firewalls, VPN concentrators, and IDS, IPS systems. That's what it's going to take to get hired by Microsoft, Don. We teach all those, and that's why our students get hired all the time. But the certification is just the name of the service and how to configure that. And we do that basic introduction, that Azure Expert, as well as the AWS Solution Architect. In fact, Jay, in our program, we make everybody build their own cloud from scratch. So you will know how to build AWS, Azure, Google from scratch, and every one of my students does it. Because when you go on an interview and they say, what have you done? If you have limited experience and you can say, I've worked with server virtualization and containers and firewalls and VPN contra, I've even built my own cloud, it means something to the employer. So what you asked us, of course, we cover that, but that just scratches the surface of what we do. The rest of it is how you get hired. And yes, we could get you hired if you desired. Got 2 people hired today.
Yeah.
And not only that, but what about last month?
Last week it was 5 or 6.
That's the people that tell me.
I even got an email from From the Victoria, I will say her last name. I will say Addie, which is a prefix, which many people know it's a prefix, but that means like thousands and thousands of people. Sent me an email that said she couldn't afford our training, but she's attended so many of our videos and so many of our YouTube channels and free trainings that she just got her first cloud architect job.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I got that 7:49 a.m. And of course, our student got hired, and another student got hired. But it's every day, and that's why I do it. But so that's why it's not just about certifications. Certifications are useful for an interview, but it takes much more to get hired.
All right. So I know this has probably been our favorite show. Obviously, we're still talking at 2:10 or 8:10, whatever. But with that being said, I got to be the bad guy because I know Alonzo's got to go. I know we got I think a baseball practice or a softball practice. I can't remember which one. But so I'm going to let Alonzo go. If you want to give us any last words, Alonzo, and then we've got me and Mike can stick around, and Praveen can stick around if he wants to. So.
Well, what I want to say, thank you, Praveen, for coming. I always heard so many awesome things about you, but I just had a chance to actually meet you, and I'm looking forward to just talking some shop when we have an opportunity. To everyone here, thank you so much for the kind words. I really enjoy conversing with everyone, speaking with Mike and Chris, and just sharing our thoughts about the cloud, talking about technology, how we can help, how we can reinforce a whole new career trajectory for you. And also, if you all are interested, I'll add my list of some of my favorite books to the chat. If you're interested, I will share that with everyone.
Yep, and we'll also be putting them in the comments of the video after the video is
okay
finished, as long as he emails it to me.
Okay, yeah, I will do that. I will definitely do it, but it's always a pleasure. This is not. It's a responsibility for me to be able to share how I can help anyone grow, share my thoughts and experiences and know-how in the cloud with everyone. So, Mike, Chris, it's always a pleasure, my guys, and I will see you all on the next one.
All right.
Very
Praveen
similar.
is right. I
Thank you so
want to
much.
see Praveen and talk to you. I'm going a little looking for you, buddy. So look for me. So
We'll take the trip to Philadelphia. I'll get off my paleo diet for a week because in Philadelphia there's plenty of unhealthy food that's delicious.
yeah, you got to have a Philly cheesesteak, Mike. That's a staple.
That one I've had a few because my family owned a Greek diner and they made lots of them. So I used to eat them with it. Well, in those days I could eat bread. Now I can't, but I'd eat it.
Yeah. All right, Alonzo.
Okay,
You gotta
guys.
go. I'm not going to get in trouble with her. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
to you
talk
soon, guys.
offline.
So good to see you.
Take care.
And there's a couple of questions we'll definitely address. So
Yeah. So just going through the remaining comments here. I'm glad that
Okay, sorry, Chris. So I think Mike was explaining the J concern, right? What is that? J, right? J Dawn.
yeah.
Yeah. So what I would add to that line from my experience. So generally we talk about cloud services and those things, right? So let's talk about EC2 or whatever machine is there. So if you have to work for, let's say, if you have tasks to implement cloud, if we quantify, let's say 10 tasks, only last task is to choose the cloud service. First 9 tasks will be from understanding the business, talking to business guys, how to talk in business language, how to design the solutions, core concept of cloud. Then finally you will have to decide the cloud component finally. So actual whatever we learn in that course, like let's say AWS solution architect from AWS certification or whatever we learned, that is the last stage in our real work. 90% or 99%, first we will have to understand the business things, we will have to talk to business people, we will have to think from the business perspective, we will have to utilize our experience and knowledge, we will have to design, then we will choose finally the cloud service.
Yep.
So Yeah, that is the difference. Whatever we think, whatever we hear in the market, and what is the reality. Hope it is
Yep.
clear.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So let's I want to put Rosella's question up here for you, Mike. So she asked, I want to purchase the Development Plus Live. Is the class currently already started? For the
So
live
Rosella, you can start the class tonight if you desire it. I'm going to have Chris from my team drop off a 20% coupon. We don't use batches for the following reasons. So the way the program works is as follows, and you're gonna be able to appreciate why we don't do batches. So we have 3 live classes per week, and 2 of the 3 classes we design architectures together on multiple clouds. It's a great experience. And 1 time per week, we do cloud architect leadership skills, how to deliver a presentation, how to sell the way a cloud architect needs to sell, how to design something. What does the CEO care about? CXO relevancy, emotional intelligence training. So 2 tech classes per week, 1 leadership class per week. Now, those classes all stand alone. So it doesn't matter when you join in. Now, when you sign up for the program, instantly it's going to unlock our content. And you'll be able to start doing that on your own pace. At any time, you'll open it up, you'll instantly get an email you get an email within a few minutes, and it'll tell you where to access the content, where to join Slack. You'll watch a video, and you'll do a homework assignment. You'll submit the homework assignment via Slack, and guess what? We'll give you feedback on it because we need to know that you're there. You'll go through this program at your own pace. And the reason we don't do batches, to let you know, is you can stay in this program until you get hired. So we're not a certification mill. We're not just trying to get you certified and say bye. All we care about is that we get you hired in the end of the program and that you get a good job. So we will let you stay in our program for upwards of a year. You'll continue to in classes until you're hired. And that way we know that all of our students that keep doing the work will get hired, because I don't want anybody taking our course and not hired. So we do that. Now, we also have a set of labs. We have labs on the AWS cloud, labs on the Azure cloud, and we will also make you do real labs. So what we do is employers want to know if you have experience with the network and the data center. That's what they care about. So we have a second set of labs in addition to the Azure labs and the AWS labs, where you will set up server virtualization and build containers and build firewalls and build VPN concentrators, set up a Linux Apache MySQL PHP stack, set up file storage with server message block for Windows, file storage with NFS for Linux and Unix hosts. And when you're done this, we'll have you set up an Active Directory server so you can learn authentication, authorization, accounting, or identity and access management. And when you're done, we will have you build a cloud. It'll be an OpenStack cloud, a cloud just like AWS. It'll be the same cloud that's used by American Airlines, American Express, Verizon, and many other companies. And we'll teach you how to build your own cloud. So what does that mean? What is the cloud? A cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center that's got some special software that controls it, called the control plane. And the control plane determines where your virtual machines are, the metadata of where your systems are, which is usually going in a Mongo database that's part of your cloud. Then you typically will remember where your containers are and where they're orchestrated and where your storage is, and the cloud software does that. So we will teach you how to build your own AWS environment or Google environment and build a cloud from scratch. Because as real cloud architects, we may have to do that some other times too. So hope I answered your question. We'd love to work with you. Lots of people signed up today. Lots of people already got started and they're already getting hired. And the average cloud architect earns $600 a day. A good one earns double that. So the sooner we get you through, the sooner we get you earning. So we'd love to work with you, Roselle. I hope I answered your question. Do I think that an entry-level role is available for someone with an SAP, as in the cloud support or engineer, or can someone honestly get a solutions architect role? Well, every day I've got somebody that gets their first job as a solution architect job. So that's what my students do every day. That's their first job. I don't know of any entry-level roles that actually exist in today's world. And it's going to be really, really hard to get an entry-level role. I'll tell you what, probably take you longer to get an entry-level role than a cloud architect role, and here's why. Entry-level roles are as follows: people that rack and stack servers, cable things in, plug in and unplug. Guess what? We don't need those people anymore because the cloud kind of made all those jobs go away. So for the most part, there are no entry-level jobs. So I don't suggest starting at the bottom. I suggest you getting the right training and just go for that cloud architect as your first job, or a cloud engineer as your first job. How are you going to support people in support unless you've actually worked on it for years and know how things work? You can't. So a company can't hire you to do support if you have no experience. It's one thing to hire help desk. Help desk is it turned on as their paper in it. But cloud support is much more sophisticated. So there are no jobs for entry level. The key is to build up your skills so you can get a job and don't worry about it. And it's easy to get a good job with the right training. Saddam Hussein, I have a networking background. In university, you took a course on cloud computing. You're from Berlin. Please, could you explain how and what type of topic is very, very entry cloud computing project? So I don't do any entry-level cloud computing projects, Saddam. And the reason I don't do any entry-level cloud computing projects ever is they won't get my students hired. So we only do projects that will get them hired. So realistically speaking, a entry-level project would be to set up a website, either from a static website from an S3 bucket or set up an Apache server on a Linux machine. That's an entry-level project. An entry-level project would be to set up 2 VPCs and do VPC pairing, but that's not enough to get hired. So I think the other question, and I don't know which career you want, is what does it take to get hired? And if you want to ask me that, if you tell me whether it's a cloud architect or a cloud engineer or a different kind of job, I can answer that question. But it's not what kind of very entry-level projects can you do, because they're not going to do anything for you. It's what projects can you do to get to your goals.
All right. Back to livening it up here.
Yeah.
So I want to remind everybody that we do have our regular YouTube Q&A session tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So if you have any questions related to cloud computing, cloud careers, cloud training, anything like that, join us tomorrow. Same channel, 9 o'clock. We'll be here. But and then on Friday as well. And then again on next Monday and next Wednesday and next Friday. We're always here for you.
We're always here for you. Somebody did ask what we meant by building a cloud, so I thought I would answer that question.
I'm trying to find that one and put it up there. But you can go ahead and talk while I'm looking for it.
I believe the question was from Jay, but I'm not completely sure. When we are asked, what do we mean by building your own cloud? I mean literally creating a cloud computing environment out of nothing. So what is Azure? Azure is basically a whole bunch of network. It's a network in a data center that's got a cloud control orchestration software. So we will make you build that whole environment exactly the way Azure would build theirs or Google would build theirs. Because here's the thing. When you don't have experience and you go on a job interview and they're seeing that you can create the environment from scratch, you know that much, then it's like, wow, this person's really competent. And it's not just that. It shows that you're energetic, enthusiastic, passionate, and willing to go above and beyond. And it shows and makes you stand out. So that's why we do these things.
I have one point here from my real life experience.
Good.
So whatever you are teaching here to create your own cloud or to build your own cloud, when you go to the companies, really they create or they build their own cloud too in order to something called hybrid cloud. So not only for learning purpose, in the interview also, or in real life also, when you join the company, they will discuss with you when and not how, but when to design our own cloud. So that is very important from that perspective also, that they're learning.
Absolutely. For most of these jobs, you're going to have to be familiar with an Nutanix cloud or an OpenStack cloud. You're going to be building these clouds for your companies because not everybody's bringing everything in the cloud. There's lots of good reasons not to.
Yep.
Thank you, Al. Robert, it's always wonderful having you around.
So
Well, Bob, thank you, Cloud. James Yang, thank you. See you next time. I look forward to seeing you very soon, James. Bob, this is very educational. Very cool. Is that actually both of your names? If so, that would be really cool.
All right. So here.
Okay, so if you're looking for about projects to pass your course in university and you want to start learning something for basic, okay, gotcha. So for something like this, what I might actually do is I might create a website on an Apache server, and I would create 2 servers, for example, make 2 little web pages, placeholder web pages, and I would take a load balancer and I would load balance these things. I would take an internet gateway, I would set up DNS, and I would create a little mini web application or website that's load balanced. And maybe you do it in a couple of availability zones, which are nothing more than data centers. And that way, make a high availability web application, set up the DNS for load sharing, set up your load balancers, set up your web service, and that would be a good thing that you can show. I think that would be a good college project for you to do. And I'm real glad you asked that question. That totally makes sense.
All right. So I'm going to be the bad guy again. I already sent Alonzo home. So now I'm going to send Mike home because that's not his home behind him. So
No, it's not.
yeah. And I got to get home to check on the kitty. So we'll answer one last question here. And then we will have to sign off until tomorrow. So here we go.
Do you, Jenna, believe someone who has the skill level of an SAP certification holder to be hired as an associate solution architect with AWS? I don't believe that there is any AWS certification that will get anybody hired for any job. I think that in order to get hired, you need to know the network and the data center and the business acumen and the communication skills we're talking about, the leadership skills, the architectural design skills, and none of that is covered in a certification. So I think you can build yourself a fantastic career, but I think you need to learn the things outside of the certification. You could learn them with us, or you could learn them on your own, but they're not going to be covered in certification. They're going to be network and data center things. And you know what? I'll be back online tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And if you want, I will build you a list of all the things that you need to learn to get your first good job. And you can tell me whether it's a cloud architect versus a cloud engineer, and I'll build you that list. And I'm going to say this right now. The certification doesn't do it. And that's why we created our program. And the reason I created this program a year ago was I saw what the certification training materials were out there. I then interviewed 1,000 AWS certified individuals. Most of them had multiple certifications. I wanted to see how many I could hire. There were 0. So I created this program, and we get people hired every day. And you can either train with us or you can train on your own. But the reason certification won't get anybody hired as architects is as follows. A certification is based upon the name of a proprietary service and how to configure that proprietary service. Say Dynamo database. And here's the thing, as architects, we don't configure any service. We design systems. And guess what? How frequently could I use a Dynamo database? The reality is probably never, because we're going to be using multi-cloud environments, which is going to mandate a MongoDB or an Apache Cassandra or something that's open on standards. And that's why what's covered in certification won't work. Certification is good if they're trying to train you to be a sales rep, but not for these bigger careers. But you can do it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'd love to discuss it with you. I will give you a full list.
All right. Mike, I'm going to make you tell us goodbye.
So I'll close with the following things. On Thursday, we have a completely free how to get your first cloud engineer job. It's going to be fun and exciting. We normally do the architect one, but this is the engineer one. And if you're interested in becoming a cloud engineer, not a cloud architect, but a cloud engineer, we have a wonderful cloud architect career development program that's going to launch May 1st, and it is 50% off right now. So I would suggest that. And if you want to be a cloud architect, well, our program, the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, is pretty famous at this point. Everybody knows it all over the world. You can see the Cloud Hired's coming out basically every day of the week, and you know about that. So if you're looking for any help, we'd love to help you get your careers. And whether you're a student in our programs or just free students, but if we do our free boot camps, we're still thrilled to have you here. So have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you, my good friend, for being
here. So somebody asked about payment plans, which I answered in the chat box, but I guess they didn't see the answer yes, we do 3-month payment plan options.
And the way the payment plan gets used is very simple. You do the following. If you click on our webpage, you'll see a price. Let's say it says $9.99. If you click that white box where it says $9.99, it'll give you a drop-down menu where you select the 3 times $3.50. And then if you enter a coupon code, and we'll give you a coupon code for 20% off, know that coupon applies to all monthly payments, not just a single one.
Yep. So just wanted to make sure that they got the answer that we had given them. So, all right. Good night,
Have a great
everybody.
night, everyone.
We'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. Oh, and thanks, Praveen.
Thank you so much, Praveen.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Nice.